Yo guys, what is up? Moxsy here in our Outriders video, and today we're going over the dev update for Worldslayer. This is going to include the devs' thoughts on the launch of the game, including things that they're looking to address and change in the future, and improvements that are going to be coming to the game. Hope you guys enjoy the video. Real quick, apologies for the lack of videos for the past few days. I was actually away, but I'm back now, so hopefully back to like daily Outriders and Wonderlands videos. All right, let's get into it. So to start us off, they're making some major changes to Target Guitar, the end game of Worldslayer, and these changes will go live on Tuesday, aka in 4 days. Now, the first change that they're making is they're adding an extra guaranteed Apocalypse Legendary RNG drop to the following trove areas: Cliffside Paths, Daughter's Sanctuary, and the Arboretum. These areas had like dedicated drops that weren't really worth your time doing, besides just like kind of breaking up the monotonous gameplay, because their dedicated drops wouldn't really drop, and most of the time, if it was like a pants trove, I wouldn't get any legendary pants, and I get like legendary helmets or like weapons. So they're adding a guaranteed legendary drop to a few of the troves. They'll give you guaranteed legendaries of what it's specifically for. So that's really good. I definitely see myself doing those areas more often now, which will hopefully break up the monotonous gameplay a little bit more of the Target Guitar. Next up, they're reducing the final Arbiter's Apocalypse Legendary drop rate, but the choice of legendary rewards that appears after defeating the final Arbiter remains unaffected. Basically, when you kill the final boss, you're going to be getting less legendaries that he drops, but you're still going to be getting that final pick. So it's still going to be really good, but it's not going to be as crazy of a farm. Basically, what they're trying to do is they're trying to incentivize people to do more of the Worldslayer endgame and not just dive straight into the final boss. That there's going to be better rewards for exploring some of the other areas. In a total run, though, they say that before you would be getting a minimum of 6 legendaries if you ran all the way through Target Guitar, and now you're going to be getting a guaranteed 9 Apocalypse legendaries plus RNG changes for others. So doing more of the content, you'll be rewarded with more guaranteed legendaries, which is always a good thing. Next up, they're going to be balancing some builds, and these build changes will be going live Tuesday, the same day as the Target Guitar changes. A few examples of the most problematic builds that are going to be taking a look at are the instantly one-shot boss builds. I'm assuming this is very much in reference to the Devastator terms of engagement, Boulder Dash / Gravity Leap setup. It was like infinitely stacking in co-op, and definitely like not intended. We knew that this was going to be getting changed, and it seems like this Tuesday, that will be the end of that. So hopefully big changes there. Next up, they're talking about builds that became virtually indestructible while still outputting a large amount of damage. Players running builds that can face tank multiple hits of the final boss and not even drop their shield. This makes me think that the shield node in the Devastator's PAX tree is going to be getting nerfed. I would be kind of bummed out by that, because I mean, it's really good. It basically makes you indestructible. They're very correct on that, but it's also like the Devastator shtick is to be like a tanky monster that can't die basically, and Devastator without that node actually feels like incredibly squishy. So I hope if they adjust the shield node for Devastator that they don't adjust it too much, because I think Devastator, besides like the one-shot stuff, is actually in a pretty awesome spot right now. So we'll see what happens there. Next up, they mentioned builds that have excessively reduced skill cooldowns so that they're almost non-existent, with cooldown scaling up on gear and skill tree nodes that can reduce skill cooldowns to like basically nothing. It sounds like they're not super happy that there's builds with like basically 0 cooldowns. I'm mainly thinking of Pyromancer on this node, just because Pyromancer has PAX trees that basically make it so that you can always cast your skills, but that's also like the Pyromancer core fantasy, is to be that mage, to have those things. You don't want to, like, you want to be more relying on your skills and abilities as like a Pyromancer, rather than like using your skill and then waiting, shooting your guns a bit, and then using your skills again. You want to be always casting those skills, because that, once again, is the Pyromancer fantasy. And Devastator has been having a little bit of that too, but it looks like we might be getting some increased skill cooldowns for some certain skills, or some changes to how the way that the PAX tree nodes give cooldown. Next up, they mentioned that they're going to be continuing to update and patch and buff and nerf builds, but they also want to give time for like metas to develop. But they did note that they're going to be making a big buff to the trigger twitch set bonus. That's the like pistol set. So maybe pistols with that buff will actually be really good. I haven't had the time to like mess around with any pistol builds, but this Tuesday, if there's a big buff to the trigger twitch set bonus, maybe pistol builds will actually be like a very, very viable option. If they aren't already, I apologize. I haven't messed around with that with a pistol build yet. And then next up, we've got Apocalypse tier grinding. Apocalypse grinding to Apocalypse 40 is a ginormous task currently. I don't see most casual players reaching Apocalypse 40. It's probably about a month worth of grinding just to get one character to Apocalypse 40, and that's really rough because not only does it take a ton of time, but it's also very resource intensive to level up your gear to the different levels, as well as it kind of de-incentivizes, if that's the word I was looking for making multiple characters and playing multiple builds, because the amount of time that you need to dedicate to one character just to get into the higher Apocalypse tiers is ginormous. And I don't see a lot of casual players, or most casual players, ever reaching Apocalypse 40. Now, they're aware that it's a big grind. They say that they didn't want it to be more like this content, to basically be a week's worth of content and to reach Apocalypse 40, and then you'd be done with it. But I do think that there really needs to be some careful like changes to the Apocalypse grind, because one, Ascension not being shared on characters can be really rough. Maybe Apocalypse tiers being shared on characters. You can have a character that you spend so much time grinding and progressing and getting a lot of loot on and getting all these good gear and these good drops, but if you make another character, they can't take advantage of any of it because it's all too high level for them. I agree that their grind to Apocalypse 40 should be a substantial one, but I think it's a little bit too much right now, especially for people that want to experiment and try multiple characters and do multiple builds. The resource cost for experimenting and making multiple builds is just too high right now. So in the Reddit thread of this, they did say, or a lot of people responded about resource costs, and they did say that they're going to be keeping an eye on it. But basically, they're going to be hopefully making some changes, but right now they're kind of letting the Apocalypse tier or the Apocalypse grind play out and see how people adjust to it. But hopefully some changes really soon to the Apocalypse grind, because I would love to be able to progress more characters quickly and try out more builds, because trying out builds could set you back hundreds of resources. It's pretty ridiculous. Guys, that is going to do it for the video. Already some big changes coming to Outriders, which I think is great, because notoriously Outriders at launch was very slow to come out with updates and changes to a lot of the big issues that the game was experiencing around its launch, and they're already kind of on top of things, and hopefully we'll get more updates and more things to come. Out of curiosity, I would love to know if they have more plans for content for this game, or if they plan on just kind of balance changes for now. I would love to see a roadmap for what their plans are for this game, if we're going to be getting new content, new expeditions, new things, because while I love Target Guitar and the new Worldslayer grind, it is pretty monotonous, and the end game is now basically just one mission. So I've been absolutely loving the grind, but I want more to play and more to consume. And so, yeah, guys, that is it for the video. I will catch y'all in the next one. Take care, guys. Peace.